So I've been playing with this Anbernic 40XX. It's a 4.0 inch display. It's an IPS display. It's pretty good brightness and whatnot. But the nice part about it, it's horizontal form factor, and look at this, it has RGB lights. It obviously makes a difference, right? But joking aside, I do like the fact that it has RGB lights. It kind of makes it stand out. So this device was provided by NXT for review, but they don't get any input in terms of what I get to say. They don't even see this video until, well, the time you guys see this video. So Anbernic pushes out so many devices so quickly, it's crazy. And so what makes this device different? Well, one, it's horizontal. It has membrane buttons for the D-pad and the buttons, the face buttons. It has RGB lightings for the sticks. You got two sticks. Now the sticks themselves are pretty much analog to sticks. They're not going to be a full 360 control in terms of, there's a lot of cardinal snapping essentially. That's what's going on. So in terms of that, you know, if you're trying to play a lot of 3D games with this and expecting like super crazy accuracy and stuff like that, it's not really gonna be that way. And I do like that this is a 4.0 inch display, so it's bigger than the other devices that Anbernic has released or of this kind of form factor. Now, one thing you'll notice right off the top of the bat is you got the stack trigger buttons for the R1, L1, and then L2, R2. And at the top here, you'll also see quite an assortment of ports and buttons. So you got the power button, the LED button to show that it's on. You got your USB-C for charging and OTG. And then also you have your mini HDMI port as well. You got your power button, and then you have another button. This is the reset button. So in case you need to reset it for whatever reason, you can do that. And then there's not much else at the top. So you'll notice also there's not any kind of ventilation anywhere, right? So this uses this H700 wind winner chipset. So it's the same chipset. So essentially they just modify the PCB board, you know, for this housing, which I have to say the plastic is very good on this device. So, and check out in this like really nice, kind of like this off-white color with the black and purple face buttons. And then you can obviously customize the RGB colors to whatever you want. I find that the coloring system pretty good on this OS and on this device. Now, just quickly going on the bottom, you got your dual bottom firing speakers, which are okay. I do prefer face, you know, firing speakers, but you know, these do the job. And then you got your two SD cards as well as your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So the SD cards, similar to other Anbernic devices where they have a main one and then your secondary, I do find that, you know, you can expand a lot more in that way, but sometimes I just prefer to have one and you just put a massive SD card and just be done with it. But there is options, so you can just kind of do both, which I do like. So despite the display being bigger, it's like half an inch bigger essentially, it's still the same aspect ratio, 4:3, and then also you won't get the higher resolution or anything like that. It's still 640 by 480. So it's just basically a bigger display, which is nice actually, compared to 3.5. I mean, it seems like a little bit of difference, but actually playing with the device, it actually makes a pretty big difference in my opinion. And as far as battery is concerned, it's a little bit less than the RG40XX SP by 100 milliamps. So it's 3200 instead of 3300, for example. And you can't really replace the battery easily because the back shell is completely flat, as you'll see right here, and can't really get to it quite easily compared to the SP device. So one thing I didn't really talk about until now is going to be the face buttons and the membrane buttons that they have here. This is so nice. I love this a lot. It's just really soft, not really clicky. It's kind of like the opposite of the SP in terms of the button feel and then D-pad feel. It just feels really nice to play with and really silent because it's membrane based. I did find in my testing that the sticks are okay. Again, they have cardinal snapping, so they're not really gonna be crazy in terms of, you know, accuracy and whatnot, but I think they're serviceable really. And, you know, they don't really get in the way when you're playing. And so I don't think it's a big deal. Now, some of you guys might wonder, okay, well, the back it's completely flat. There's no grips. There's no rubber like pieces or anything. You can add your own obviously, but I never found this to be a problem just holding it like this. And the plastic's good enough, it has a good texture. Like it's definitely not just like this flat back where the plastic is completely, there's no texture. The back does have some texture to it, so it's not completely smooth. So you can feel that, okay, there's some grip here. And because it's rounded, there's not a whole lot of sharpness kind of digging into your palm here. So I really do like that they've considered the shape of the device, and it feels really nice in the hands. So this device is about $86. It just depends when you get it. Maybe there's sales and stuff, but you can check out Lit NXT's website, and they have a variety of items. They ship pretty much everywhere from what I can see. And also I have a discount code. Just use the code down below in the link in the description and checking them out. So let's talk about the software. I'm not a huge fan of the stock software, but there are some good things about it, especially with a more of a hibernate state, because when I'm gaming and I need to go somewhere, I need to do something else, and I need to shut off the device quickly, I can just press the power button, turn it off, and what it does is that it saves in RetroArch your current state, and then when you boot it back up, it brings you back to that same state. So it uses that method to kind of deal with quick power offs and power on. But I find that it's okay, just because if you're using other systems that don't use RetroArch, that feature doesn't really work. And so, yeah, I think that it works. It just depends on what system you're gaming on. So for me, I'm just, at this point, I'm kind of just waiting until there's a good, viable software solution, a different solution I can just flash on, because one of the other things I know is that when you're browsing the ROMs, you'll see that there's two different sections almost, because I have two different carts in there, and then one card has some games and another card has different games. So for me, I like to have all my games on one card. So if I were to clean this up on this OS, I would just move all my games to the secondary SD card and then essentially have all that there and organize it and then reflash. So I may be in a minority, but I really do like this display. Just the fact that the border is colored with the same color of the casing. So it just gives that feel of like, it's like borderless or edgeless. And so I really like that when you're gaming, you kind of just get immersed a little bit more compared to other devices. It has this black border on this white, casing. So I really do like that. Everything's more consistent with the H here. So one of the things I noticed is that this device, there isn't a kind of like a sleep mode or like turn off the display mode, but the device is still running. You kind of have to either just turn it on or turn it off, because even when I press the button, the power button once, it just turns off the device completely. And when I turn it back on, I have to hold it, and then it boots up all the way. So it's okay. The boot process, like I said about before, where you're trying to come back into a game, there is a bit of a lag time in terms of booting it on. It took about 10 seconds at this point as I'm talking, right? So when I turn off the power, look, it's off. It's completely off, and I can't turn it back on if I press the button once. Doesn't work, right? So I have to hold the button, and then it'll vibrate, and then it'll turn on. So I wanted to compare it to the 35XX SP just because they're similar pricing, and then they're kind of similar. I mean, they have the same chipset and everything. The battery's almost the same size, and then it's just a different form factor, basically. So in terms of like real estate, first off, right, like you'll get about the same size, right, if you have the SP folded out and you're gaming with it. Roughly the same size. Thickness, okay, about the same. A little bit thinner overall for the H here, but the SP has a thicker base just because, and then if you want more screen real estate, this is really your only option. You get the biggest display possible at this kind of price range. And then this device, you get this clamshell kind of design, and then the software support is pretty good. I'm using the MuOS software, so when you close this clamshell, right, it's not going to go power off right away, but see, turn it back on, you close it, the screen powers off. It kind of goes into like a low power state mode for a set amount of time that you can configure. But currently with this OEM software, you can't really do anything like that similarly. So, you'll kind of have to trade blows with that depending on the pros and cons that you want. And then, obviously this is a clamshell, so, screen protected, all that kind of stuff, whatnot. But this device, obviously, you can still get a screen protector. But for me, I don't really find that I get scratches on my devices too often. So I really just like rocking it like this. So one of the things I don't like about the SP is that the buttons are really clicky, and they don't have much travel, and then they feel really stiff even after using it for like almost a month at this point. And this device, though, it's membrane based, so the buttons they feel super nice, super soft, and then gaming on it is just way better in terms of just the buttons compared to the SP. It's just the SP, you know, convenient versus comfortable. You know, you kind of have to decide on your own. But if I had to pick, I think the H is probably the more traditional way to go, you know, because the SP has some quirks with it that you may or may not like. It has a hinge, right? So durability is also a question long term, and nobody's really tested that per se in the community, versus this is, you know, more of a guaranteed support, you know, in terms of just the same chipset, the basic body setup. There's nothing, no crazy special features they have to worry about, like the hinge here and suspension for the software. But this one, you know, it's big screen, buttons are great, the layout is great. I mean, the only thing, again, I'll complain about is really just the sticks and then maybe the heat, but I haven't noticed any heat problems. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know down in the comments what do you guys like to see next. I'm going to probably do another review of this one, just an updated one, once I get some custom firmware on there, and then show you guys a little bit more. But with that, I hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.